physical wealth.
Hello, hello, hello. Today is President's Day. It is February 17, 2025. And I wanted to come on a little early so I can do a little bit of a mental health check, because I've been seeing a lot of people having some serious problems with what is it? I want to be really nice about it. With feeling betrayed. So this little bit of show, I'm going to talk about the mental health of perceived betrayal. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos. I've seen the media, the mainstream media, or sponsored media. You know, it's bad when the sponsored media has people cursing and all that sort of thing going on. It's a mental health problem being displayed, and a lot of people were not really trained to see this as a mental health problem, but it's a mental health problem. It's a breakdown. So I'm going to explain a little bit so we can try to regroup. So the mental health of perceived betrayal is important that we're talking about in that direct statement, as opposed to the way we're kind of doing it now and talking around about it and, you know, lashing out and cursing and everything on, you know, mainstream media, where children and everybody may be watching. So for a while now, a lot of people have been talking about Trump, whether it's directly or indirectly, they're talking about Trump. Previously, Trump was thought to be narcissistic. Question: what makes people think this attention is going to change Trump's behavior to be more desirable? A lot of times we mention these things because it's like, oh, we want the person's behavior to be more desirable, to, you know, to resemble the things that we want to see. But we must focus on the various communities who comprise America. That's what we need to be focused on. The question, answer, and focus needs to be consistently, who is America? And what do Americans want? It was worrisome to me as an industrial and organizational psychologist, a woman of faith in God, and an American who represents diverse communities diverse underserved communities. When people claimed when people claimed last time that they voted for Trump because he was a businessman, and then they repeated the same thing this time when they said, oh, we voted for Trump again because he's a businessman. And as a businessman, they wanted him to have another crack at it. Hi, Sean Anthony. Thank you for coming. This is a live interactive show. I'm a little nervous. So if you have comments and questions, please come on in. I'm just trying to get this out of the way because it was really bothering me. But this is a live show. We talk about mental health and wellness in a holistic manner, which will help people right now, as opposed to waiting for them to go out and find help somewhere else. You have to have that, you have to be your own advocate in first aid. Your very first responder is you. So I'm trying to help people, to be their first responder. So we're going to talk about these matters holistically, and then I'll do something that will give you a few answers to some things. But for right now, I want to talk about this mental health of perceived betrayal, because this second time around we thought, oh, let's give this businessman another crack at it. Politics and business are distinctively two totally different things. In the workforce, we have a practice called work-life balance. Okay, and work is not personal. It's not personal at all, especially not as personal as politics. So meanwhile, life is very personal. Life is very personal. So a lot of the politics that we have is more life than business. Politics impacts people's personal life and business in ways corporations alone do not. So a businessman in a corporation, he doesn't have the ability that his decision making and his decision making skills, knowledge, skills, and ability is not the same as that of someone who is making decisions for a broader spectrum of people who are going to really be impacted by these decisions. A lot of people didn't understand that. So when people were claiming a businessman could run politics better than politicians, I was disturbed, to say the least, because it's like, did you see what happened the last time? A lot of people were happy about what happened. So they was like, okay, let's repeat that. So succinctly, businessmen are absent of the emotions of their decision making within organizations. Look for my academic writing. It's free and it will help you to understand and can go deeper into the conversation with more time than what I have here. But look, that I wrote down of downsizing, because that in business, what we're seeing being in now to when I tell you, oh yeah, well, you know, people, um, Trump had another go. Sorry about the camera problem. We would like to see go at it because we're seeing right now is downsizing. So go and find my free academic writing about downsizing and the king of downsizing. Though you can quote that, downsizing and the downsizing, so you can find that faster and easier out of all the other writings. But I may need to do an entirely separate episode for that breakdown. So keep watching for that. But we're seeing the lack of emotions businessmen have when their objective is to meet company goals by a set time and hit financial expectations in record time. Some megas are happy about the ability to accomplish the set goals, while others emphasize the real life consequences, emotions, and negative, undesirable implications these decisions are having to real people. This is not a business and it's not a business practice. This is politics. It's affecting people's lives. Whereas in business, you have a certain escapism because it's not necessarily seeping into your own life, but with the politics. So let's continue on. Sorry about the internet, but we're seeing the lack of emotions the businessmen have, and we're seeing how some megas are actually happy for it, and some megas are not happy about it because they're being impacted in real time, and it's in undesirable ways. So they are on board with the emotions that's connected to it. And these are the things that I tried to bring attention to help show the correlation between mental health, stability, and instability. In the corporate world, a business would simply fail for these experiences we've seen in the last month. Then the leaders who made those things happen would be fired, but then they'd be rehired elsewhere, wherever organizations wanted to implement a big shakeup to connect to correct previously poor decisions, like hiring a bunch of people who were not best suited for the job. So the value of the conduct of the job and the ability to improve things by having that job sector seems futile because it's been made to be unproductive for bogus hiring and firing practices, which before it got bad led to volunteer turnover rates being increased out of this world and decades of attrition studies in business and academia. Please search for Tina Phillips academic writings for more background on that as well. But being absent of emotional impacts to real people's life in the workforce is a major factor which led us to the global mental health concerns we're all facing right now. Because if you look at it, we have seen how Elon Musk has taken over Twitter and what he did with Twitter. He's now implementing those same practices with the American government via Trump's permission. Okay, so if you're not aware of that, go research that and see what happened and see the correlation so you'll have some idea of what's actually happening right now. But now, because Trump is representing a larger scale of corporations and businesses, it's not just one organization, but many corporations and organizations and businesses and different sectors that a lot of people haven't even heard of, and a lot of people would never have heard of if it wasn't for these things that's happening right now. So now it's on a larger scale via Trump's admin. You see, previously, some people were saying, let's be all inclusive. Before all of this happened, they were like, oh, let's be all inclusive. There's people out here who don't like the the potential of what inclusion posits, predicts, and who all would prosper as a result. That's deeper than I have time for right now, but try to get that understood. Let's define inclusion. People born with mental or cognitive delays. Delays does not mean deny. We found ways to understand one another and learning from informed theories in advanced global industries across genre. This is studies that approve this sort of that led to this sort of understanding. So it proved it. Another example, the blind and deaf communities. Some were saying they're a small community and they have their own world, but studies show the integration of their world within the world they were delayed from joining has advanced people in financially lucrative ways. So that means it was, at first it was said, well, it's not enough of them to make a financial difference, but it was. And it did. So another example, inclusion of diverse ages being useful early and later in life. A lot of people were more readily seeing those examples when young female teachers were controversially having sexual relations with younger K through 12 boys and girls, or when people outlived their retirement savings and needed to be reintegrated into the workforce, but the workforce was made of young leaders who'd really benefit more from the guidance of the elderly as elderly subordinate. I have to put that in there because when the elderly retired and then re-entered the workforce, they re-entered the workforce as a subordinate as opposed to a leader, which caused a great deal of controversy and problems and low productivity rates and high attrition rates. But anyway, so more so than treating the elderly worker as a novice simply because they were re-entered, because they had re-entered the workforce in a new era. And that's why they were considered a subordinate. So again, just Google my writings. It's free. The academic writings is free. And it goes deeper into it. than what these free 1 hour videos do. Okay. So anyway, um, it's this is really rather deep, and a lot of times when I'm doing something succinctly for people to understand, it's just trigger succinct groups of understanding so that you can go and find more in-depth information on your own or in the writings that I've posted out there. The most popular titles of communities, while we're talking about communities, the most popular titles of communities of people wanting to integrate into the inclusion ideology and workforce were women, minorities, online schools, and the vulnerable communities like people with special needs, like cerebral palsy and Down syndrome people who were capable of learning a job. Some organizations were previously given federal funds to encourage this kind of inclusion of the most popular groups of communities who people were like, yeah, let's integrate them into the workforce, because from what we can see by them going to brick and mortar schools and actually learning and adapting, it took them longer, but they did it. So then there's hope. So we just need to work with them for a longer period of time in order for them to accomplish the same goals. And so they started integrating them. But some people only want the best of the best. Yet they fail to define the best of the best, because everyone is uniquely special. And it's their diversity which aids their innate ability to have sufficient significant contributions. So it's more sufficient, and it's extremely significant. That's what we've come to find over the years in this integration of these communities who were previously systemically delayed from entering these workforces. Anyway, people who eliminate diversity due to systemic or other reasons have been noted to cause complete and total failures for their short-sightedness. Study, and what do I mean? Does America want a businessman running the government? If yes, what kind of businessman? Do you want the king of downsizing to run the American government? Read the studies of how that played out before you answer. Facts are vital to business finances and mental health. I'm just saying, no judgment. But you might want to read, because the type of businessman a lot of people were saying they wanted, but they did not check the background of the businessman they hired. I'm just saying. So it seems like betrayal, but in a way, it's not betrayal, because the perspectives was laid out and made public. But anyway, studies support diversity and inclusion because it was not only logical, it was extremely profitable, and vastly advanced organizations, the workforce, schools, etc., across genre. It was extremely lucrative and beneficial. But moving on, what am I saying? I'm saying rewind, review, go binge watch my episodes, and find my writings, my free academic writings, and my book, Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry, and Your Success. It's available on Amazon, and you can ask for it wherever books are sold. But I'm saying all of that succinctly in these episodes because I don't have a lot of time to put this information out there just in bits, and it's like bars of gold. You just got to take that nugget and take that bar and go out there and make it do what it do for your own mental health. But anyway, these matters are adroit living, which impacts people holistically. So that's why it's important. These matters are adroit living. Adroit living meaning you're useful with your hands and your what the raw resources that you have. You're skillful and resourceful with it because you make it do what it do. And you don't have time for anything else because you have a great need. So this adroit living, which impacts people holistically, is helping people's mental health. And when you avoid doing it, then it affects your mental health in an undesirable way. So remember, mental health is physical wealth. And that's this episode, this little brief episode. And I'll start the 1 hour show directly after. I appreciate everyone for coming. See you next episode. Mental health is physical wealth.